You're listening to the Radical Transformation Speaker Salon, hosted by Nicole Harlow. 4 days worth of transformational interviews, meditation, and surprises designed to rock your world and change your life. Your year of soul discovery and wild metamorphosis starts today.
Hey everyone, Nicole Harlow here, and welcome to day 4 of the Radical Transformation Speaker Salon. I am here with Saperstein, and she is the Chief Marketing Strategist and Branding Expert over at The Big Factor. She's also a retreat leader and founder of Trailblazers Retreat. She mentors small to mid-sized businesses to up-level their offerings and branding, making more money and closing more clients than they ever thought possible. She's living her dream of adventuring around the planet while running a location-independent business. She believes that trailblazing business owners are here to change the world. She also believes that one entrepreneur can change millions of lives by sharing their own unique voice and concept. And she knows that together, you'll change the world. So you can find her over at thebigfactor.com and also find out about her Trailblazers retreats for entrepreneurs. And let's just jump right into our interview. A good place to start would just be if you can tell us about who you are and what you create in the world.
So who I am and what I create in the world is my name is Lynana Saperstein, and I am an online marketing strategist who works with trailblazing entrepreneurs. So that means people who don't fit the cookie cutter model for entrepreneurship and owning a business. They're really people who understand and embrace that entrepreneurship is this luxurious spiritual and personal growth journey that they've signed up for and that they're showing up for every day and saying yes to. And it's full of pushing your edges and jumping into the unknown and into the uncertainty and creating something from nothing and just being pioneers and trailblazers in innovation and creating new things, new, fresh, delicious things that the world needs to grow and expand. And that's who I am.
Yeah, I love that. And I love what you said about it being luxurious too, because I know as a business owner myself, there's often a lot of focus on like the thrusting and the striving, the achieving, but it can actually just be such a luxurious, like pleasurable experience too. That's definitely
I find if I'm forcing or trying to effort something into being, it's not in alignment with my truth. It's not a part of my purpose, and it's not going to be enjoyable. It's not going to be fun. And one of my friends always says this: if it ain't fun, it won't get done. And so, like, if it's not fun, like, stop doing it and find either a new way to do it that's fun, or find a whole new path and really blaze that new trail that that's maybe something no one else has done before. And so it can be a little bit scary and daunting. But if it's part of your truth and it's part of that burning passion, that purpose in your soul, go for it.
Yeah, I love that. And so how were you led to this place to be an entrepreneur? Like, how did you know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?
I think it's kind of one of those things where I didn't wake up one day and say, I want to be an entrepreneur. I wish it had been maybe that simple, but it was, like there was a little bit of kicking and screaming and a little bit of I got fired from a job and I ended a long-term serious relationship. And I really realized, and I was going to this unemployment office and talking about, what I wanted to do with my life. And I was like, I really didn't want another boss. And I realized that the common threads and patterns that I had found in my old jobs was that I really always craved flexibility and adaptability and really creating my own career. And so I was like, well, let's see how this goes. And I was also on that's when I really had that like spiritual awakening that people talk about. I always say there's this contrast. I was teaching MCAT classes and a friend of mine had Reiki meditation circle, and they were at the same time. And I was living in New York City, and I think it was a Wednesday night or something like that, was one that weekday night, it snowed, and so my class that I taught was canceled. And so I went to Reiki meditation circle because that wasn't canceled. And I just got fed and filled up there in ways that I hadn't in my entire life. And so I kept showing up there. I didn't know why, I didn't know what, but I kept going back to this healing arts center that was there, and I ended up working for the woman. I ended up meeting, going to tons of workshops and working with shaman and healers, and meeting a woman who looked me in the face and said, "You should be a coach." And she said it so clearly that I was like, this must be a sign / oh my gosh, this stranger knows my life purpose better than I do. Like, I'm just going to listen to them. But that was when I really started to be like, where are the signs? Let's start following them and just keep saying yes to opportunity. And that's sort of how I began the entrepreneur journey, and then slowly cultivating and following my yes and following my intuition, really created this amazing life and this career and this business that I absolutely love.
And so it really seems like the spiritual awakening and the entrepreneurial journey, they kind of coexisted at the same time.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That's so cool. Yeah, I feel quite a similar thing in my own entrepreneurial story, and that the first thing that I did as an entrepreneur was I went and did my yoga teacher training. And so that running my business as a yoga teacher is how I kind of got my feet wet as an entrepreneur. And so it was very connected in a similar way with creating like a spiritual awareness. So, for me, spirituality and entrepreneurship have always gone hand in hand from the beginning. And totally. I think that's a really cool and helpful place to start with, because I think, for someone like yourself and like myself, when you're starting out and you're connecting the entrepreneurship to spirituality, I feel like it gives you a really good base to ask yourself from the beginning, like what good do I want to bring, like, from this creation that I'm putting out in the world, but also what tools will I use to sort of manage this entrepreneurial journey so it can be, like you said, luxurious and pleasurable. So I'm just curious, are there any like spiritual tools or practices that you think really help in running your own business?
Sure. I mean, I just want to say, at the beginning of running my own business, the spiritual journey was like almost like part of the resistance. Like, it was something I kind of said no to, and it just kept showing up, and it just kept showing up, and kept showing up with serendipity and with gifts and opportunities. And so I kind of couldn't ignore it. So I just want to mention that, because even if you don't feel like a spiritual entrepreneur right away, I didn't define myself as that for probably years, I would say. And I had a weird relationship with God and just because of my upbringing, and I really had to find my own spiritual journey and my own spiritual path for this life. So I just wanted to mention that. I think, for me, I think the daily practices are the most sort of sacred, even though they're so simple, and just like the little things I do in the morning. Like, I have, I do automatic writing in the morning, and I light either a candle or some sage or some Palo Santo, and I just clear the energy, and I usually clear all the energy on my computer because I'm like, I don't know what's on my computer right now. I got to get it clear.
Great idea.
And, I just like, what are my intentions for today? And, I often say, something to my higher power, but it's, I'm here for service, and I really, how can I drop my ego and just put on that coat of service and, sort of give my life to my purpose and just stay in that flow. And if I ever lose it throughout the day, and especially when you're in the coaching field or even in, consulting and you're talking to people all day, you can absorb energy. I'm definitely a highly sensitive person. And so, usually around lunchtime, or it usually happens after lunchtime because I'm a little off track. But I try and do another energetic clearing, just like anything that's not mine, please fall away. No energy can enter my space unless I give it permission. And so I'm really not absorbing stuff, and holding on to it. Cause I think when I first started my business, I did a fair amount of that. And especially when you're holding space for other people, which you can do in any type of business.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of energy coming through. So that kind of stuff is really important. And then, self-care, obviously, I think is like such a sacred practice of like honoring yourself and being like, wow, I've got this amazing vessel that I've been given to do my work and to do my service and to connect and to have this really pleasurable, delicious, delightful human experience. And so any way you can sort of honor yourself, and that's evolved for me over the years. It can be sort of the superficial-ish like spa days and baths, but taking an Epsom salt bath is like one of the most amazing things for me.
Oh my God, yeah.
But just like finding your groove with like what feeds you, what fills you up, what feels light, and helps you release the heavy energy. Just go towards that. And I think that evolves, and I've always I've met amazing people, and I've listened to amazing podcasts and books and gone to talks, and I've just picked up things along the way. And just be open, try things at least once and see if they work for you.
Yeah. And is that something so your self-care routine, especially as an entrepreneur, would you say that that's something that was with you from the beginning, or in the beginning of your entrepreneurial journey, were there times when you maybe weren't, when you were kind of burning the candle at both ends and you needed to learn how to bring more self-care into your routine?
I'm a highly passionate type A person, so I'm prone to become a workaholic and more burn 12 candles at both ends. I don't even know where the candles came from. So definitely.
Yeah, I get that impression from you.
Definitely
just
didn't.
Following you on Facebook.
I mean, and that's part of my journey, right? So part of my journey is to put on the blinders and to focus. And some people, it's just, expanding and trying new things. I mean, you'll find your path. But I think for me, the self-care piece wasn't innate because I wasn't good at taking care of myself. Even my careers before I started my business, I was sort of would work extra hours and get all this comp time. And so it was sort of what my programming was from the 9 to 5. And when I started to realize I'd turned my business into a job, I had to really go back in and rebuild. And actually, this is something I teach my clients, is to really build into your business plan your self-care. So whether it's vacation or whether it's, people do free Fridays. I don't do calls on Fridays. That's my rule.
I'm the same, yeah.
And I have friends who do flex weeks. I do flex weeks just because I have to travel sometimes, so I just am not working for a few days.
Yeah.
So however you can create your business literally around that self-care and giving yourself time to recharge or plug into what, juices up your battery, which could be family, it could be your loved one, it could be travel, it could be, food, it could be the beach, it could be nature, whatever it is that feeds you, making time for it. Absolutely essential. I can give that piece of advice and say, start it right away and figure out how to build it in.
Yeah, building it in and scheduling it, getting it down on the calendar. I mean, I'm similar in that Fridays for me, Monday through Thursday, I'm working with clients, I'm making websites, I'm doing everything that I need to do in my business that is client facing. And then Fridays I reserve that time to work solely in my business, doing things that I don't take any calls or anything like that. I just want to spend that time giving back to my business and nourishing it. And then Friday nights, going to the spa, going to the gym, nourishing myself, and then relaxing.
Really powerful.
So I'm really curious about, because the speaker series is all about transformation, I'm really curious if there's a time in your life where you experienced what you call radical transformation. And by that I mean that the you that emerged bared very little resemblance to the you before.
So actually there's two things I hold the most valuable in my life. They're sort of words that guide me. And one is experience, and the other one is transformation. And so I hold transformation just in the utmost. There are multiple times where I completely transformed my being, and I'm not recognizable to some of my friends. Definitely my friends from high school, definitely childhood friends. I'm totally different. My college friends, they said they saw parts of this in me, but even when I first got out of college, and I often say that if I talked to myself 5-10 years ago, and I told myself what I was doing and how I was living, I would have laughed at you and I wouldn't have believed you. So I've definitely experienced those moments, and, you know, sometimes they come like a tsunami or a tidal wave and hit you, and sometimes they're really subtle. My big transformation is when I started my business. I often talk about that time, and it was very figurative. I lost the job, I lost the boyfriend, I literally lost my voice. I got so sick I lost my voice for a week.
Yeah.
And
make you think of the sort of tarot, the tower and the tarot card, just everything sort of all crashing down at the one time, you know, and then build back up again.
Yeah, and if you know anything about Hinduism, you know, Shiva burns the house down, but the foundation is still there. The core of your being is still there, and the house is burned down because it wasn't built strong enough to you know, withstand the storms or to hold all of the sacred things that were going to come for you, and so you have to build it again. But, you know, just a few years prior to that, I was hit by a car. I was in a near fatal, I was a pedestrian. I was struck by a vehicle. And I often say that was the course correct. That was the universe saying, wake up, Lynnan. But I didn't have the tools, and I didn't have these people who would feed that. And so in those few years after that accident, in my healing process, and really, what I found was, you know, Western medicine couldn't heal me in the ways I needed to be healed. And so I did start to, you know, experience holistic care and things like that, and go deeper than just the superficial, that like I had broken bones and I had bruises and things like that. It was much deeper. And looking at my life and what made me happy. And I had a boyfriend then who said to me that I had manifested this car to hit me. I'd asked the car to hit me. And I remember thinking like, no, and I wanted to fight with him, and it taking, you know, a year or two for me to really step into, I was a powerful manifester, and I had been so desperate and so miserable in my life that I had asked that car to hit me. Yeah. I had asked for catastrophe to realign my life, to my purpose, because I was so off track. But I had no idea, and I was always doing the best I could. And it was just this slow, subtle, powerful course correct every 6 months, every few years. And if I look at where I am now, the transformation is much more subtle. It's almost a refinement, but I'm a different person. Sometimes every other week, because I engage transformation because it's so important to me, and it's so important to my evolution. It's so important to my service on this planet. Even a conversation, a 1-hour conversation can transform my being. Just an experience, a festival or a concert or a trip, can completely, a film, a book, someone's powerful, a YouTube video, a TED Talk. But being open to letting yourself be tweaked and refined and course correcting even tighter, so powerful. And part of the journey for me has also been just letting go of attachment to what I think the future should look like, because the universe has such a better plan for me. Because it's always showed up as way better than I thought. Way better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I definitely found that very powerfully this year, and been a serial entrepreneur for about 8 years now. And, I never struggled for having ideas. And I realized that over, the course of 8 years, I had lots of business ideas and things that I wanted to make and create in the world. And sometimes, you're not you're too close to your best skills, so you can't really see them. And so I didn't realize until a friend pointed it out to me about 2 years ago that what I was doing the whole time was creating branding experiences. And what I loved was that initial, like that rush of creative energy that you get when you have an idea. And so I really loved like the birthing process, just like taking the idea and like creating like a name for it and that, and the look, the branding and the logo. And I taught myself everything about how to make websites. And so I'd make the website for it. But I never thought to do that as a career, you know, and if I wasn't open to radically shifting that, it took someone else to tell me, you know, this is what you're doing. Like, this is your actual job. Like, this is your career. You spend like 8 years just manifesting ideas and creating all of everything that goes along with it. And then I sort of would peter out. Like, I'd be like, yeah, no, I don't really want to make that business. You know, I don't want to make like organic kombucha. I just like, you know, creating the idea around it. So I just love that idea of what you said about being open to the universe, because I certainly found what was for me became the most like potent thing in my business was actually being open to a new idea. Had you asked me 3 or 4 years ago, you know, do you think you'd run like a web design studio? I'd be like, no, I'm a psychology major. It's like a degree in women's studies. Like, I'm not a tech person at all. I don't have a degree in graphic design. So I think like, man, that's such a great way to like live your life, you know, is just be open to know that the universe does have a better perspective and a better plan on things, and not to hold so tightly.
Yeah, and you pointed out something quite powerful. It's that the people around us, especially if they're aligned people and they're people who you really believe in, they see more of you than you see of yourself, right? Because if we physically, you know, how much of your body do you see in this moment? Like maybe you see the tip of your nose or your hands. And so they were really mirroring back what they had seen of your strengths and of the service and the, you know, the gifts that you were sharing. And pay attention to stuff like that. You know, it's all feedback. It's all coming in as input for you to put it together and figure out what your true north is.
And don't you think it's important to, kind of going off of that, to periodically ask the people that you love and respect around you to give you that feedback rather than just waiting for them to, you know, just give it up. You know, I like the idea of reaching out to people and say, hey, you know, what do you think are my best strengths? You know, do you think I'm living in my zone of genius, you know, et cetera?
I think it's absolutely necessary for life. I've literally created a life where pretty much everyone I spend time with gives me feedback constantly, you know, in relationship, in friendship, you know, even with my parents now more and more. And I cultivate, you know, experience. So like the retreats that I host, you know, that's a huge part of that week intensive, is that the whole week you're getting massive amounts of feedback for you to take in. You know, you don't have to take it all in. But I always say feedback is like a sandwich, right? You eat it, you digest it, you take the nutrients out that you need to grow and expand, and then you shit out the rest. You know, you really get rid of whatever doesn't serve you, and you're like, thank you, I took what I needed. But the more feedback you get, the more nutrients you have to grow. And so for me, feedback is just vital. It's essential for life.
Yeah, awesome. I love that perspective, and I have to say that the feedback, as someone who's, I guess, like a recovering perfectionist, you know, the feedback is something that it's taken me a long time to get to a place where I value it as so essential, you know, because I feel like in the past, the feedback I always saw as a kind of maybe a criticism or, you know, like if you're a perfectionist, you want to feel like, well, if I do things perfectly, then no one needs to say anything back. And I know that feedback comes in all different forms, but
yeah, that's true. I mean, I think feedback can feel like that, especially when you're just sort of starting. But what I always say is, again, it's take it or leave it. Take what you need, get rid of the rest. And, it's always going to be sprinkled with other people's projections and stuff like that. But if you don't get any feedback ever, you're living in this weird isolated bubble where actually you become your own worst critic, and you have no idea what other people think of you. And I lived there for a long time, and I don't recommend it. I highly recommend this. It's much more fun. And you have to learn to not be defensive. You have to learn to really let your guard down and allow yourself to fully receive, and especially if the people who are giving you the feedback are giving it with love and compassion. And that's part of that is creating that community around you and finding those like-minded people that really hear you and understand you and support your journey.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking about, the importance of creating that community around you, so you know that the feedback, no matter what it is coming from a place of love and support and desire for your highest good and their highest good. So tell us a bit more about the retreats that you've got going on, the Trailblazer retreat.
Sure. So it's an international retreat. So we've had them in Costa Rica and Croatia and a few in California. And next year we're going to be adding some more delicious destinations because, you and I, we love to travel. We have to do that too. But
you've actually inspired me. Just a quick side note. I wanted to tell you that your recent trip to Turkey just inspired me so I live in Malta and I'm going back to New York to see family in a few weeks. And instead of flying direct, I'm flying from Malta to Istanbul. And I'm doing a layover in Istanbul based on seeing your pictures on Facebook. So thank you.
Yes, I have a new love affair with Turkey, and I actually will be doing a small group at Trailblazers next year in Istanbul, and we'll be going to Cappadocia. But yeah, Trailblazers is I get to share my adventure. I get to inspire people to, buy the ticket and get on the plane, which is, part of it is getting out of your comfort zone, which is really the first step to transformation, stepping into the unknown and saying it's okay and allowing whatever to happen. And Trailblazers it's a transformational retreat, and people leave with their lives and their businesses completely altered and completely shifted and hopefully more aligned. That's my intention. And we really deep dive into, the personal practices. And, I usually bring in some amazing workshop leaders from around the world. We've done yoga, breath work, Reiki, energy work, energy healers, and also some of the top business people to just help sort through your business and how to grow it. And my goal is by the end to have all your walls broken down, have you completely liberated, and then you can fully receive all the business knowledge that you need. And so you have an amazing plan for the next 6 to 12 months. And we just have such a rock star tribe of people who just they support each other so much. Massive expansion, massive service, and just super aligned role models and people who are trailblazing in their fields. And so for me, I'm blissed out that I get to do this.
Oh my God, it must feel like I can't believe that this is my job.
And that's what I think trailblazers are, right? We're creating jobs that don't exist yet.
Yeah.
And we're the people who are on our knees oh my God, I can't believe I get paid to do this.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful, tears of joy and gratitude. And so if you can create that in your life, God, how many more people could you inspire to bring that about? And I think that's some of what I ooze out and some of what my travels ooze out. And I love that. I love it.
And I think that's what I really connect with you, and what I really love about you is just this exuberant enthusiasm that you seem to infuse everything that you're doing, whether it's traveling or business. And I have to say, your retreats look awesome. I've definitely seen you put it out there and been just the idea of especially when you're doing Costa Rica, it's that idea of putting together massive expansion with masterminding with like-minded people, and then being in a beautiful environment and self-care. And I know that it seems really attractive to me because I'm sure that you feel the same, that sometimes being an entrepreneur, especially an online entrepreneur, can be really isolating. I don't actually,
Totally.
and as I travel around a lot, and I spend a lot of time sort of making websites and, you know, doing stuff in my own business, and I don't spend a lot of time actually like in person with other entrepreneurs. So the thought of like going on a retreat and being together with like really like-minded people just sounds so cool.
And that's how I really created it. Like really selfishly, like I was stuck behind a computer. I was actually getting to travel for work to these amazing places, but I was by myself.
Yeah.
And I just was like, God, I bet there are other people who feel just like me, you know, just having their life unfold in this really magical way, but not having anyone to share it with. Actually, a friend of mine said that she hit her first 6 figures and she was like home alone in her pajamas, like crying. And she was like, I didn't even know who to call. And I'm like, that is depressing. Like we cannot have that. Like we need to have people who like celebrate with us and celebrate our lives and celebrate our successes and invite us on adventures. And that's been my sort of personal quest for the past 2 years, is really to welcome in community and tribe and to do that as part of my business and part of my life.
That is exactly, oh man, you just could be like speaking to my own heart, because that is exactly the journey that I'm on right now. Is I'd say like, because the first several years of running my business was like so much hustle and not a lot coming in, you know, just like hustle and being on the computer. And it's been the last like, I'd say 18 months to 2 years that my business has really gotten to a point where there's abundance flowing. There's so much joy in the work that I'm doing. I get to like create for people every day, and I get to create, like, I work with all female business owners, and it's just like, it's such a buzz to have them come and say, here, this is my vision. I don't know how to do it. And I get to create it for them. And I get to create like this beautiful foundation for their business. So I'm in a place where I'm feeling like abundance and expansion and just like joy in the work that I'm doing. But I realized I had no one to share that with. Like, especially not anyone who was on like a similar journey. And so for me, the last like, 3 to 6 months have been about creating that kind of community, whether it's like a mastermind, whether it's like I have a friend who's an entrepreneur, because I just want someone to like, or someone's, I want people to be able to call and say, I just had I just landed this client and I'm so excited about it. Or, or even when inevitably like the things, the kind of frustrating things happen in business. I just think having community as an entrepreneur is one of the most important things that you can create for yourself.
I agree. I hope you're doing some sort of Facebook group or
something
for the people who are listening to connect. And some of my friends that I met at the beginning of my journey are still people I bump into, and I'm just eternally grateful. They're always going to be there, no matter what, and growing their business and on their own journey too. Just amazing.
Yeah. So shifting gears just a little bit, I just wanted to see if over this year you were to experience more transformation, which it seems like you were always in a place of transforming, which I think is so inspiring. Are there any old habits that you'd like to shed that aren't serving you anymore?
I mean, I'm always finding new ones. I'm not gonna lie. We're like onions. You peel back, you're like, oh, there's another one. And one of my mentors always says, new level, new devil. As I expand, personally and professionally, I find just new little ticks. I think right now I'm in a fun, like, wealth and financial and abundance space, and it's a place, I've played in this territory before, but never at this level. It's like I'm welcoming in a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm creating containers for a lot of money. And so, a lot of my old stories around, who rich people are and what people with money do and what wealth brings, and who doesn't like you when you have money and how you act when you have money. and just been interesting. I just get interested. I get curious when they pop up because I'm like, oh wow, that's a big one. And just and I've found deep parts of my soul full of shame. There was some debt I went into to grow my business and was hiding it, and when I let it come to light and when I asked for support, I was really just uplifted in this magical way, really to the next level. When I was willing to shine light in the shame, in the darkness, and own my darkness, and actually use it as a platform, and use it as something to talk about with my clients and how they were managing their money and how they had accumulated debt as well. And so for me, it was really liberating. So definitely I'm probably like waist deep in this stuff right now. And just, what am I worth? And every time you raise your prices or you create a new program, or, right now we're hopefully having 4 Trailblazers retreat events next year. You're who will buy, am I worth it? Is this worth it? And, I've got investors now in my company too. And just like, what are we spending money on and how much are we spending money on?
Yeah.
And, we're hiring higher level people to support our clients and to build our brand too. And just like paying people more money than I pay myself. I'm just like, oh Jesus, so like you have to keep expanding. So that's definitely where I am. And I'll hold space for all of you guys listening, for that same piece. I think believing you're worth it, seeing the wealth that already surrounds you and how rich you already are in this moment. And just constantly, spending time around people who have money and what does luxury feel like. And, it's been fun for me.
And constantly questioning those old behaviors and old thought patterns that come up, especially around money, having that sort of digging down and finding like the core viewpoint and saying like, what is this? Where did it come from? Is this serving me? Because everything that you just said is really similar, the same, it's really similar to where I am right now. And I've been doing a lot of work recently with, there's abundance in my business. And I have to say I grew up in a poor family, teenage parents, and I uncovered a huge upper limit problem for myself, which was that I felt like the more money that I made, the lonelier I would be, and that I would somehow be disconnected from my family and the community that I grew up with. And almost, I have to say that, like, I think that even there was some shame there in a way of, like, just being disloyal to my community. Like, who are you, to rise above your station or where you came from, So that's kind of the place that I'm at right now. It's just like welcoming abundance, but realizing that there was some resistance there too. So kind of uncovering and digging down and saying, okay, is this serving me anymore? No.
And not making it right or wrong, it's just what is, and and you're engaged with it, and handing it over to the higher power and asking for them to help you, transmute it, dissolve it, erase it, across all time, space, and dimension. I work with energy healers too to help me get rid of blocks.
Yeah, me too.
Sometimes I'm not enough. Sometimes they're bigger than me. Sometimes I'm like, I keep hitting the same wall. And I love working with amazing, powerful energy healers. And actually, I'd love to introduce you guys to some of mine. Some of them are so amazing.
Yeah.
But definitely, I know that very, there's this analogy about crabs in a pot. Do you know about this analogy?
No.
So, most animals, if you put them in a pot, like they'll climb on top of each other and at least one or two will get out, right? But crabs won't. Crabs will see one of them trying to get out and will pull it down. And if we're all going to die in the pot, you're going to die with us. And that's not all communities. That's something to remember. That's not all, a scarcity mindset people tend to do some of that. But there are communities that will uplift you, and they will, but you have to pay attention to the people that kind of can pull you down, and let yourself rise and let yourself step into that.
Yeah. So who are you working with energy wise? Who are some people that you love?
I've worked with a few different people. There's an amazing woman, Elizabeth Pfeiffer. She was somebody who came in last year when I was holding a lot of energy, and I was absorbing a lot of energy, both personally and professionally, and taught me some great stuff for clearing and protecting my energy. And I'm working a lot with a woman named Jackie Bean. And Jackie does energy clearing sessions. She also does group clearings, and she does some programs, but I did her abundance upgrade sessions earlier this year, and
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, amazing. And I do like regular just cleanup sessions with her.
Yeah.
And she just like just like you were talking about shame. I mean, shame is the lowest vibration, right?
Yeah.
So if you're carrying any shame into any situation, you're just counteracting any super high vibes that you're bringing into something or anything that you're creating. And the best thing you can do is release it. I mean, and then you just like springboard to your heights. And after most of Jackie's sessions, literally I'll make $10,000-$20,000. I mean, it's ridiculous. I'm just like, oh, like the price that I pay her is like nothing compared to what I make after she gets rid of the block. Because I just like
return on investment.
It's just like boom. It's like boom. And so anytime she does something, I'm always there. But yeah, those are the two that I've been plugged into the most. And I'm Reiki trained, and so do a fair amount with that. And actually, there's another woman I just got connected to, and I've just started to work with. Her name is Marta Barreras, and she lives in Hawaii, and she does a lot with grid lines and crystals and activating yourself as a crystal. Because our DNA is carbon, so we are crystalline. We're crystal children. They say that. But using use yourself as an activated crystal to move energy, both for yourself and for your clients and for your business. And she's magic. She's all about she's feng shuiing the internet. I love her. She's amazing. She's really, really powerful too.
I've got a little plate of crystals sitting here next to me, just so you know. I've got, I wanted to create like a beautiful space around me for these interviews. So I have a plate of a bunch of different crystals, especially my favorite manifestation crystal, little plants around. And then I pulled a card from the Miracles Now deck to sit next to me. And what came up was, I share my light with the world. So I thought that was a really fitting message for these conversations.
Really beautiful. Yeah. And that's part of the daily practice. Find your little things, whether it's a little altar or lighting a candle or, crystals, whatever your thing is, or if it's a bunch of things, find it, play with it, and make it a part of your everyday.
Yeah. And that's really like what I connect with what you initially said about luxuriousness and pleasure as being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, is that I get to have these things around me. Like when I'm having an important, meeting, quote unquote, if I'm doing some like a pitch to a client, for example, like I've got my crystals around my neck. I have my supercharged water. I have everything, all of these not just the tools to get the job done, not just my notes, but also the things that spiritually uplift me. And I know that, the times when I did have a 9-to-5 job and I was sort of in the office world, I couldn't have those things around me, so I just really appreciate getting to create my own space and call in the tools that I need to just help me to be a better version of myself in business.
Yeah, and you're creating websites and doing design. I mean, that's you're moving energy, right? You're creating little beacons of light, little lighthouses on the internet so people can find things. I mean, all of us are moving energy no matter what we're doing. And so when you add in the spiritual stuff or the woo, right? Yeah. You're adding another layer to your service. You're doing deeper work. And, I was just in Israel working with clients, and think about a week in, there was sort of like a serendipitous meeting that one of the owners had with somebody who was very important and set up all this stuff. They're like, oh, what is it? Wasn't it such a coincidence? And I just looked at them and said, well, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in serendipity or kismet, and, I'm here and I know I'm magic. So, and you brought me here and you paid for me to come and you stepped into that part of your service, and that the universe rewarded you. And so sometimes I even let my clients in on the secret, like there is some other stuff at play here that I am doing some magic with, and it's not just the legwork.
Yeah. I'm a powerful manifester.
Yeah. People pay for that, right?
Exactly,
I'm a powerful space holder. I'm holding a sacred container for you to receive, whatever it is, transformations, breakthroughs, money, whatever it is that you're selling, your results, your benefits that you're selling, you're holding space for them, and you're helping teach them how to do the same.
Cool. So what are, do you have like one or two big goals that you're working on for this upcoming year?
For this year or for next year?
For either, like something that you want to do, before the end of the year, or something that you're working on for next year. Just these like big, like sweaty palms kind of goals that you're, really excited but a bit nervous maybe to pull off.
No, if I'm not sweaty palms nervous with pretty much everything I'm creating, I got to go back to the drawing board. That's one of my quotes I live by.
That's exactly how I feel too.
If your dreams aren't big enough, if your dreams do not scare you, they're not big enough.
Yeah.
So you have to make them bigger. So, that's what the big factor is all about. But, personally, I'm actually putting down roots. So I've been traveling for 3 years, and I'm transforming the word settling down. Because I always thought settling, like, into one place, settling down was settling. And I'm playing with that definition. And I think when I do that and I really root and I ground into a place, which I'm moving officially to San Diego, I think my business will be able to flourish in new ways. Cause if my business were a tree, it can take really deep roots now. It won't have just shallow roots. And we're launching a new website for Trailblazers Retreat. We are doing, fingers crossed, 4 events next year. So Costa Rica, Istanbul, Cappadocia. So we're going to be in Turkey, Peru. We're going to go at the end of the year, and we're going to have, for the mastermind, we're going to have an event in San Diego. And, we're stepping into service deeper. We want to cultivate more experiences that bring about transformation in people's lives. Also, a lot of people who come to Trailblazers retreats end up hosting retreats, and so we may end up creating some sort of info product around that. We've dabbled with it. We've done some videos, and so that may end up coming out. And we're just hoping to invite more people into our mastermind. And I'll be traveling less, but hopefully we'll still have our 5 VIP clients next year that I travel to see and work with. And then my big dream, hopefully coming into pass in the next 2 years, probably, maybe sooner, who knows. I'm going to buy a retreat center and really create like a Trailblazer center where it's just like running all year long, and it's a place where people can get away so they can go within and get some time away from their business, to really reflect and figure out, what's going to be best for them.
Oh man, that retreat in Peru sounds awesome.
Yes, in the Sacred Valley.
To me, South America is a place that I haven't gotten to yet, and it's really been calling me for a few years now. I've
lived there. I've loved there. I've played there. I love South America.
Oh man, so much good vibes for hitting all of those goals this year. And I really connect with what you said about, wanting to reframe the idea of settling down, because like yourself, I'm a big traveler, and that's been a concept that I've had a lot of resistance to. And it really is in the settling, as in like settling down is settling, boring life, and going backwards, and that's not what I want to do. but I also have a real craving to put down roots somewhere. So I love the idea of reframing
Well, we're unconventional gals. We
it.
couldn't do something normal even if we tried. And I know I have all the angels and all my guides and my whole community that I've really been able to find through the internet, but now in person in San Diego, to support me. And so, and I live by that. Anything is possible. Everything is possible. Endless possibility is my world. And so why not? Why not see if it works? Why not see what I can create in that space?
Yeah. And I noticed for myself, it was, I'm getting to a point now where I'm really just embracing the Gemini energy that's inside of me. Insofar as like when one twin gets what they want, the other twin is going to be like, wait, but I wanted this, So I noticed that in the past, whenever I've tried to like quote unquote settle down, that there's just been the other twin would wake up and be like, no, 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 this isn't what I want. I want to be traveling. And so I'm at a point now where I'm saying to myself, it's okay to have both. It's okay to put roots down and still go on 3 or 4 trips a year.
Exactly. And I'm a Libra, right? So I'm always looking for the balance. And my pendulum is always swinging one way or the other. So I completely understand.
And it's really nice to be at a place, financially and in my business that I do I do work just with my laptop. So it's not about taking time off or asking, asking a boss, can I go away for 2 months or something like that. It's like, and I feel like it's financially viable for me now to have a base, to have a place where like, this is where my home is.
This is where my stuff is.
This is where my stuff is. Yeah. I mean, like, I just said, I don't want to buy another kettle, I'm just moving around so much. That's like, I'm in a place where my stuff is. I don't want to have to get rid of my books anymore because I'm moving somewhere else. I just want a place that's like my base, but then I can, have adventures around the world too.
Anything's possible.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, my last question that I have is, I just wanted to see if you could share with us some tools or books or techniques, like things that you think would be really helpful for the listeners to inspire some radical transformation in their life.
Sure. So the book that changed my life, and actually I just recently spoke to a dear friend who had given it to, and it was on their bookshelf, and I said, did it change your life? And it did. So I got a second opinion. It's actually called Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping. Oh, wow. And it changed my life. It really helped me it's hard to put into words, but it really helped me find my connection to the balance of the universe. And Colin does trainings. I've heard him speak. I mean, literally, he's amazing. He has a coaching certification if it really moves you, but it's just a book that you must read and you must have in your arsenal. And then the other thing, which you had asked me if I could share something special with your people, is around cord cutting. I spoke a little bit briefly about, protecting your energy and releasing energy that I did with Elizabeth Pfeiffer, but the cord cutting is one of the most powerful things that I've ever been taught. Whenever you have an interaction with a human being, especially one that's intimate, whether it's physically intimate or just emotionally, spiritually intimate, bonds are formed at our chakra points, and our chakras have energy portals in the front and in the back. And so people create really deep bonds with us, and especially if they're people who are in our lives for a long time. And part of transformation is some things fall away. People fall away, relationships fall away, but sometimes those cords are still there, and they're actually like energy drains, almost like, so they say energy vampires, like somebody who's just like sucking the life out of you. And so I have a guided visualization and some of the explanation in a worksheet to take you through going through your chakras. You sit in front of the person and you go through, and you can go through intimate partners. I recommend always doing it with intimate partners, but really close friendships, also clients, can be really, really powerful to make sure you just, you've got some energetic boundaries. And what I always say, what you do with it is you really clear all of the energy that is attached, and then you make the decision about how you stay connected. So it doesn't necessarily mean like we're detached forever.
Right.
But it's that you have control and that you have a say in who gets access to your energy and who is in your inner sanctum. So very powerful tool, and I'd love to share it with your people.
Oh, thank you so much for that. Yeah, that sounds wonderful and powerful and so incredibly necessary, both for intimate relationships and clients and everything. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Lynana, it's been so nice chatting with you. You're someone who really inspires me, and I've been wanting to connect for a long time, so I'm really happy that it finally happened, and I look forward to seeing all of the awesome things that you keep creating in the world.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure and honor to get to speak with you and share some juicy radical transformation with your tribe.
Thanks. Can't wait to see where this goes. I feel like I'm on an exciting journey, and yeah, I'm really creating this program was kind of born out of my desire. I've been doing the website design stuff now for 2 years, and like I said, it's quite isolating, and it's a lot of time in front of the computer. And my background and my history is as a yoga teacher, meditation teacher, dance teacher. I used to teach like ecstatic dance and burlesque and sacred sexuality, and that part of my soul was just like crying out to be used again. And then I just kind of came on this concept of radical transformation, and that's what I wanted, this time for myself to be, is a period of really deep radical transformation. And I thought, I don't want to do this alone. I want to create this community around me and pull in all of the resources that I love. So we have like New York Times bestselling authors that are coming in to do like master classes inside of the program, and energy work, visualizations and guided meditations and some yoga classes. And it's all going around the framework of the zodiac. So every month we'll be focusing on a different aspect of life, and then really incorporating things like moon cycle and menstrual cycle, and just getting to a place of optimal flow.
Awesome.
So I am like really, really excited to just let this part of myself play in the world again.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Have a good night. You're about to go to sleep. I'm just starting my day. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Speak to you soon. Bye.
Bye.